Are the Forsaken destined to never have peace? Never to have a home to live in just as in life? Today, we're going to go through how the Undercity became an uninhabitable wasteland due to one leader's betrayal, panic, strategic error. Whatever the cause, we'll know the answer shortly. Brief explanation of the Fourth War. The Fourth War, also known as the Battle for Azeroth, or the Blood War, was a devastating global conflict fought between the Alliance and the Horde after the defeat of the Burning Legion in their third invasion of Azeroth. The war was sparked by the emergence of Azerite, a powerful substance formed when the Titan Sargeras wounded the world with his colossal sword. Azerite's immense potential as a weapon led to rising tensions between the two factions, ultimately igniting open warfare. The conflict began with the War of Thorns, in which the Horde, under War Chief Sylvanas Windrunner's command, launched a brutal assault on a Night Elf homeland of Teldrassil. This campaign culminated in the burning of the Great World Tree, killing thousands of innocent civilians and shocking the Alliance. In retaliation, the Alliance launched the Siege of Lordaeron, attacking the Forsaken capital of the Undercity. Although the Alliance initially gained the upper hand, Sylvanas used Blight to render the city uninhabitable, denying her enemies a decisive victory. As the war escalated, both factions sought allies across Azeroth. The Horde gained the support of the Zandalari Empire, while the Alliance allied with the seafaring nation of Kul Tiras. Battles raged across multiple fronts, including the conflicts in Zandalar, Kul Tiras, and the war-torn Arathi Highlands. Key battles, such as the Battle of Dazar'alor, saw significant losses for both sides, including the death of King Rastakhan of Zandalar. The war reached its climax when War Chief Sylvanas betrayed the Horde, killing the orc hero Varrock Sarfang in a Mak-Gra duel at the gates of Orgrimmar, and abandoned her people. With Sylvanas gone, the remaining Horde leaders and the Alliance agreed to an armistice, ending open hostilities. While the war officially concluded, lingering tensions and unresolved conflicts ensured that the scars of the Fourth War would shape Azeroth's future. Now we'll go back slightly, to the middle of the Fourth War, to the Siege of Lordaeron and Sylvanas' betrayal. Fall of the Undercity. For years, the Undercity remained the seat of Forsaken power, a center of dark alchemy, espionage, and necrotic might. However, its fate was sealed during the Fourth War between the Horde and the Alliance. Following the burning of Teldrassil, the Alliance launched a retaliatory assault against Lordaeron, seeking to reclaim the lost capital and put an end to Sylvanas' rule. The battle for Lordaeron saw the Forsaken and the Horde make a desperate stand against the advancing Alliance forces. As the Alliance fleet loomed on the horizon, the Forsaken knew that Lordaeron's capital, the Undercity, would soon become a battlefield. War Chief Sylvanas Windrunner, ever the strategist, had anticipated the assault long before the Alliance ships first arrived on the shores of Tirisfal Glades. She knew that holding the city indefinitely was not a viable option, but denying the Alliance its prize was. Before the battle began, Sylvanas ordered the evacuation of Undercity's civilian population. Forsaken who had called the catacombs of Lordaeron their home for years, some for their entire existence, were forced to leave behind their lives, their homes, and everything they had built. Orgrimmar, the Horde's bastion in Kalimdor, would serve as their temporary refuge. Though Sylvanas' command was absolute, there was bitterness and sorrow among the Forsaken. To many, Undercity was more than just a military stronghold. It was the last remnant of Lordaeron, the kingdom they had once served in life. Now they were abandoning it, knowing they might never return. Bane Bloodhoof personally oversaw portions of the evacuation, ensuring that non-combatants made it to safety. His warriors guided Forsaken refugees to waiting zeppelins, while others took whatever personal belongings they could carry. For some, the prospect of living among the living in Orgrimmar was daunting. Forsaken had long been met with suspicion, even among their own allies. But with war upon them, they had no choice. While this was going on, Horde agents worked tirelessly to counteract the infiltration efforts of the SI-7 spies and Druids of the Claw. However, despite their best efforts, Renzik, the Shiv, managed to escape with valuable intelligence, slipping through the shadows before the Horde forces could apprehend him. The Battle of Lordaeron began with the arrival of the Alliance forces, led by King Anduin Wrynn and High King Jen Greymane, who commanded the Third Fleet as they approached the shores of Tirisfal Glades. With disciplined coordination, the Alliance forces landed and advanced southward, swiftly overpowering the initial Horde defenses and setting Brill ablaze. On the surface, the Horde's defense was entrusted to a formidable trio: High Overlord Varrock Saurfang, High Chieftain Bane Bloodhoof, and Regent Lord Lothmar Theron. As seasoned leaders, they understood that holding the line against an overwhelming Alliance offensive would require a combination of strategy, brute force, and unwavering resolve. The clash between the two factions escalated as the Alliance pushed forward, gradually cornering the Horde within the ruins of Capital City. Their siege weapons thundered as they pummeled the walls of the Forsaken stronghold. The Alliance forces, emboldened by their earlier success, pressed their advantage, believing victory was within their grasp. However, just as the Horde appeared to be on the verge of crumbling, Warchief Sylvanas Windrunner unleashed a devastating counterattack. From her perch, she directed a surprise assault against an Alliance siege tower, using precise and deadly tactics that shattered the momentum of Anduin's forces. The morale of the Horde troops surged at the sight of their Warchief's ruthless efficiency, driving them to retaliate with renewed vigor. On the battlefield, Anduin Wrynn personally led his forces into the fray, wielding his father's blade with skill and determination. He cut down several Horde warriors in succession, demonstrating his prowess as both a warrior and a leader. However, his advance was abruptly halted when Varrock Saurfang struck him down with a powerful blow, sending the young king sprawling. Jen Greymane, driven by a protective fury, lunged at Saurfang, forcing the orc back, only to be incapacitated moments later by a troll shaman's electrical strike. As Anduin struggled to rise, a troll warrior seized the opportunity to finish him off, but Anduin instinctively countered, striking down his attacker. For a brief moment, the battlefield fell into chaos. Anduin, still reeling from the blow, looked around and saw his forces wavering, their resolve faltering in the face of the Horde's resurgence. In that moment of crisis, the young king made a choice that would define him as a leader. He dropped his father's sword and with a deep breath reached out with the light. A brilliant dome of golden energy erupted around him, healing his injured soldiers and forming a protective barrier against the encroaching Horde. As the glow of the light enveloped the battlefield, Alliance soldiers felt their fatigue lift, their wounds mended, and their courage restored. Anduin, standing tall once more, rallied his troops with a commanding call, urging them to stand united. The reinvigorated Alliance forces roared in unison and surged forward, clashing against the Horde once more in a renewed battle. As the Alliance steadily drove the Horde back toward Lordaeron Keep, Sylvanas unleashed one of her most devastating weapons, an Azerite war machine. The monstrous siege weapon, infused with the volatile power of Azerite, obliterated the Alliance siege towers with terrifying efficiency. However, the Alliance, refusing to be outmatched, coordinated an all-out assault to destroy the war machine. After a hard-fought struggle, the devastating weapon was finally brought down, but Sylvanas was not one to accept defeat lightly. With cold calculation, she issued the order to unleash the Forsaken's deadliest weapon, the Blight. A thick green fog swept across the battlefield, consuming everything in its path. Alliance and Horde soldiers alike fell to the lethal plague, their bodies withering before succumbing to death, only to be raised moments later as Sylvanas' undead minions. Saurfang watched in horror as the Warchief's ruthless tactics unfolded before him. To him, this was no longer a battle fought with honor, but a massacre waged through necromantic treachery. As the Alliance forces struggled to fall back, their retreat nearly turned into a rout, until the skies parted and salvation arrived. Riding atop a magical, levitating Kultiran flagship, Jaina Proudmoore descended upon the battlefield. With a wave of her hand, she summoned frost magic to neutralize the Blight, freezing the undead where they stood, and cutting through the toxic haze with an icy storm. With another gesture, she commanded the ship's powerful cannons to fire, blasting a gaping hole through Lordaeron Keep's walls. Rallying once more, the Alliance pressed forward, storming into the city's ruins. Inside Lordaeron, the battle raged anew. Jaina created an impenetrable ice barrier to prevent the Horde reinforcements from flanking them, while Jen Greymane guarded the rear flank. As Anduin led the charge deeper into the city, they encountered the next line of resistance: Nathanos Blightcaller and Lordaeron, who had set a clever trap with the aid of Bane Bloodhoof and the Forsaken catapults. Outnumbered and at risk of being overwhelmed, the Alliance seemed to be on the verge of disaster yet again. But just as the tide of battle threatened to turn against them, Illyria Windrunner and Gelbin Mechatork arrived in dramatic fashion, teleported in with an elite squad of Void Elves and Spider Tanks. With their combined might, the Alliance pushed forward once more, forcing the Horde to fall back. As a last resort, the Horde commanders once again used Blight to cover their retreat, forcing Anduin to order a strategic withdrawal to Brill. However, the young king and a select group of soldiers, using gnomish flying machines, managed to bypass the blighted ground and press deeper into the keep. At the entrance to the Imperial Chamber, Sarfang confronted Sylvanas, voicing his disgust at her dishonorable tactics. The orc demanded to know how far she was willing to go, but Sylvanas coldly dismissed his concern, declaring that honor meant nothing in death. She left him behind, warning that if he chose to die on this battlefield, she would raise him as one of her Forsaken. True to her word, she abandoned him in the face of the Alliance. When Anduin and his forces arrived, Sarfang fought with the strength of an orc who would rather die in combat than live under dishonor. But in the end, he was defeated and taken prisoner. Bane Bloodhoof, witnessing this betrayal, condemned Sylvanas' actions, but she merely scoffed, stating that Sarfang had chosen his fate. She then turned to Nathanos, instructing him to prepare the final stage of their plan. With their forces inside the keep, Anduin, Jen, Illyria, and Jaina confronted Sylvanas in the throne room, offering her one last chance to surrender. The Banshee Queen only smirked before delivering a final chilling statement, telling them that they have won nothing. At that moment, a massive explosion rocked the keep as barrels of stored blight ignited, flooding the throne room and the surrounding city with deadly poison. Jaina, reacting swiftly, teleported the Alliance leaders to safety before the entire structure collapsed. Meanwhile, Sylvanas and her remaining commanders escaped aboard a Horde gunship, leaving Lordaeron in ruins. The battle had ended, but neither side emerged as a clear victor. Lordaeron was uninhabitable, the Horde was fractured, and the Alliance had won only ashes. The Fourth War was far from over. Aftermath of the Battle for Lordaeron. In the wake of the devastating battle, the once proud capital city of Lordaeron and the nearby town of Brill were left in complete ruin. The Forsaken, who had called these lands home for generations, had been forced to abandon their ancestral seat, and in their wake, Sylvanas Windrunner's ruthless final act had ensured that the city was rendered uninhabitable. The Blight, a noxious green fog of necrotic plague, clung to their ruins, twisting the land into a death trap where the living dared not tread. The structures of Capital City, once symbols of Lordaeron's resilience, now stood as crumbled husks, shrouded in toxic fumes and overrun by the mindless undead, raised from the corpses of those who had perished in the battle. The Alliance's struggle to hold Lordaeron. Despite the ruinous state of the city, the Alliance refused to relinquish its claim over Lordaeron. According to Captain Roderick Brewston in Stromgarde Keep, the Alliance maintained a strong presence in the region, determined to prevent the Horde from reclaiming what was left. Holding on to Lordaeron was a symbolic and strategic necessity, proof that the Alliance would not allow the Horde to dictate the course of the war. However, the region remained contested. Though Sylvanas and her forces had abandoned Lordaeron, remnants of the Forsaken still lurked in the shadows, unwilling to give up their homeland without a fight. Skirmishes erupted across the land, with Forsaken guerrilla fighters launching ambushes against Alliance patrols and supply lines. Meanwhile, mindless undead, those raised by Sylvanas' dark magic, continued to roam the ruins, attacking indiscriminately and making any large-scale reclamation effort nearly impossible. The battle for Arathi, a strategic necessity. To solidify their grip on Lordaeron, the Alliance turned its attention to the Arathi Highlands. Control over Arathi was crucial to securing a stable supply route and reinforcing their position in Lordaeron. With Stromgarde Keep standing as a bastion of Alliance strength, the battle to reclaim Arathi raged on. The Horde, refusing to cede the strategic region, launched counteroffensives, ensuring that the warfront remained a brutal and ongoing struggle. For the displaced Forsaken, the loss of Lordaeron was a painful blow. Many had hoped to reclaim their place within the city, but now their home was nothing more than a blighted graveyard. Some sought vengeance against the Alliance, while others questioned Sylvanas' methods, wondering if her callous decision had truly served the best interests of the Horde. Meanwhile, the Alliance's victory of Lordaeron felt hollow. Although they had driven the Horde from the city, they had won nothing but a wasteland. The Shadow of War. As the Fourth War escalated, the events at Lordaeron served as a grim reminder of the cost of war. The battle had left deep scars, not just on the land, but on the hearts of those who had fought there. For the Horde, it was a moment of reckoning. Sylvanas' tactics had alienated many, and Saurfang's imprisonment planted the seeds of doubt among those who still believed in honor. For the Alliance, it was a Pyrrhic victory, proving that even their greatest triumphs could be marred by destruction. Though the battle for Lordaeron had ended, the war was far from over. The struggle for Azeroth's future continued, and the blighted ruins of Lordaeron stood as a haunting testament to the unrelenting brutality of the conflict. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Content comes out regularly with lore videos on Sunday and World of Warcraft Protection Paladin content on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.